Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about a very controversial topic. Solar panels, selling feature or deal breaker? Before you go to list a home with solar panels, before you go to buy a home with solar panels, or if you're thinking about putting on solar panels, stay tuned, watch this, let's break it down. This is, from my point of view, a real estate agent's point of view only. It is obviously up to you whether or not solar panels are for you, if you're going to be putting them on your home, buying a home with them, or selling a home with them. But this is, from my point of view, my experience with what I have seen buyers and sellers in the past. So let's get into it. So the biggest thing about solar panels is it can be a good asset to a home. However, there is caveats with that. So when is it a good thing? Well, solar panels can be a good thing when the system is relatively new and the solar panels are owned. What we see and we come across a lot are leased solar panels. So what happens with that is when you lease solar panels, that lease gets transferred on to the buyers. In situations where solar panels are leased, it is not always looked upon as being a positive. In fact, a lot of times it's looked upon as an added expense for a buyer. With a lease, this is normally then transferred over to the buyer to assume that lease. That lease could be for another 20 years. That lease payment could be substantial per month. And also, if there is a lease owned or a lease on the property, that is considered a lien on the property. So unless that gets paid off, you have that as a big commitment that you're getting into. That's the first con. The second con is obviously the structure of the lease or the loan payment. How expensive it is, the company, if they're reputable, what kind of warranty, what kind of transfer it is, how long on the lease or the loan left. Another thing to think about is the actual roof. So if a solar panel system is on a roof and that roof needs to be repaired or redone, that solar panels, that whole system has to be taken off the roof, which can be very, very costly, and then put back on. So that's another added expense. So it's really a big commitment for a buyer to get in somewhere that has solar panels that are leased or that they have to assume the loan on. So let's break it down. If solar panels are owned completely outright and they're newer and the roof underneath it is great condition, that's an asset. If it is not paid off, there's a lot of room on the loan that the buyer has to assume or a lease that they have to assume, oftentimes it's considered a liability or not a pro. If you are thinking about putting solar panels on your home, make sure you understand how it will affect your resale. Make sure that you look into the company that you're going with, that you look into the option of financing and paying it outright versus a lease, how long that lease payment is going to be, what your roof looks like underneath it, and the whole system of whether or not that makes sense for you. It may make sense for you if you're planning on being in your home for a long time, but as a realtor that has seen both sides of this being an asset in certain situations and also a potential deal breaker in certain situations, I would just make sure that you are well versed in this and that you think about it and all your options before you go ahead and make that splurge. Have a wonderful day.